and wear a mask while we relax. Okay. You feel so high today. Like, I positioned my camera so high. So one of the things I want to work with today is connecting with the body. We'll do some ball stuff. We'll use the ball in a little bit different way than I've been using it, and we'll work into some movement. I've been calling these classes dynamic flow, which is really just a title. I can get away with doing anything I want, but Fridays I'm trying to keep it more gentle than Tuesdays. So we'll see how that goes. And I wanted to talk about like the way we can view the body. For a while, I think it's really helpful to see that our body is like a vehicle that we use to be on Earth, right? Like our Land Rover or our meat suit, like we have to have it if we're going to be on this planet. We have to have a body, but with the body comes issues. We all have our own unique issues that comes with each body. That was really helpful at me at first to be able to separate, like, okay, this is like Kim's body stuff, but that doesn't like affect my soul, you know? Like I'd even think like, okay, maybe I'm an alien. We're all aliens and we're like on these rides and we just like pop into a body, do our life and then pop out and I'm like, wow, that Gina ride, that Kim ride, whew, let's switch and do it again or something. And then I'd be like, but this Kim mind, like, gosh, it really has some problems, or this Kim body. And the more I've been learning about fascia, the more I've been realizing that the body is like agreeing to go on this journey with us. It's not like, oh, we're just stuck with this body. It's like, no, the body has like entered into this very special relationship and it's going to feel everything we feel, you know? So it's like every trauma we've been in, and we've talked about this last week, whatever you view trauma is for you, the body feels all of that first and like actually remembers it. When people are like, the body remembers, it's like, yeah, I remember things too, but I forget. And it's like, no, the body remembers. The impact of the experiences we went through in the body are always with us. And like, it's really like this vulnerable, soft, I just want to hold my body and be like, oh, we're in this together, you know? Like, so as we are with different parts of our body, that could be the ethos we're working with, is like gratitude or just being with, and switching the mindset of like the body is an obstacle that needs to be overcome to just like being with. Okay, so let's start up sitting nice and tall. I don't know about you, but if you ever do this, but oftentimes when I grocery shop, which is rare, so I have like so many bags now, my goal is to see how many bags, hopefully all of them, I can take in one trip from my van to the house. So I have like 10 bags on each arm and like holding things with my hands and my teeth. Sometimes that's how I feel when I sit down to meditate. So as you sit, just notice like how many bags of groceries do you have? And it's not something you need to answer with your thinking mind, or that, although that will be our habitual way of responding. But see if you can feel like, how much are you carrying? And do you want to put any of it down? Maybe just with a somatic feeling, you can put some of the grocery bags down. Maybe you put it down at the word. Maybe you let your exhales just like let some of the layers soften off. And the cool thing is we can always pick up these grocery bags at any time. Some of them are like real responsibilities we have to fulfill. We don't need to carry around that responsibility at all times. We can put it down and breathe. And then drop your chin towards your chest. And roll your right ear over to your right shoulder. And then your left ear, chin comes back through your chest, left ear, left shoulder. And taking these little half moons with your head. And this is going to turn in these neck movements are a part of our experiment. So we're kind of feeling into the neck as a before, noticing how the neck feels, monitoring the tension. Bring your head back through center, and then turn your chin from one side to the other, like a really slow motion no. We tend to carry our head much more further forward than the skeletal structure was designed to do. So pause with your head through center and think about moving your whole skull back until the roof of the mouth is more over your tailbone. So the head's pushing back, and then do your rotation again, turning the head from one direction to the other. Really nice. Bring your head back through center. Let your eyes blink open. Grab your ball. You might want to put your hair up. Do you have a hair elastic or something to get your hair out of the way? Grab a tissue. Awesome. So we're going to use as we use the ball today, the main way we're going to use it is by pinning the ball against our body and then rolling it in a circle with our hand. And then after rolling it for a little bit, then we'll apply pressure with it for a few seconds, and then we'll roll again. So we're going to start with the right side of our neck. So we're going to be working with under the back of the skull. You have your upper erector muscles, you have your trapezius muscles, a little bit of your scapular. You have some more of your trapezius muscles all the way over here. So we're going to be following this kind of area. So taking the ball, but I like to use the opposite hand. So opposite hand, left hand reaches across, roll out. And then apply pressure into the muscle. As you apply the pressure, the body will naturally kind of tense. So as you feel the tension, you can note it and then choose to release just a little bit. Then begin to roll again. Hair is up, hair up. Putting your hair up is nice for this because the hair can get like twined and pulled with the ball. And then apply your pressure. Inhale and soften, expand. And begin to roll again. This is going to be our last pressure point. Find your spot you want to go to and push. Really nice, and release. Back to your sitting position. Just notice how you're feeling. And then do your half neck circles. So the left ear goes over to the left shoulder. Notice how the right side of the neck feels, the side you just rolled. And as the right ear goes over to the right shoulder, notice how the left side of the neck feels, the side we haven't rolled. And then bring your head up, right? You can do your little nose again, just noting the difference. And then we'll begin it on the other side. So crossing the right hand over the body. Let your breath be full. Sometimes when we work and get more focused, we lose our fullness of breath. When you feel yourself getting focused, that can be a reminder to check and notice how fully am I breathing. Apply pressure. And roll. Apply pressure. And roll. Last one, apply pressure. Nice, and release. Little movements through your neck. And take your full neck circles now. Moving slow enough, you can follow the line of tension around your neck. And taking the circle in the other direction. And then bring your head back through stillness. Eyes closed, take a big inhale. Hold your breath, think about squeezing the pelvic floor and lifting your energy up. And exhale, release. Great. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see what this looks like. We're going to do cat-cow, but we're going to use our arms. So as you round your back for cat, you're going to stretch your arms forward and I like to bring my fingertips to touch. And then as you open up into cow, open your arms up wide. And we've kind of gone over how you can stretch your arms different, your hands, to get a different stretch through the muscles, the fascia. So you can flex your wrists when you go into your back bend. So rounding. So this is just kind of the general movement, but then you can make it your own. This is supposed to be like an exploration and movement. This is going to be our experiment for the chest. We're going to roll out the pecs in a moment. We're going to do this to kind of notice the different tension that we're holding in the chest. I like to take this sideways too. So if you want, you could take both of your hands forward as the fingers touch. Bring them more over the left knee so the spine is rounding off towards the right. And then do your butterfly open heart wings towards the left. Or maybe just one arm comes back. And make this kind of your own. But notice how you can start to stretch these layers of fascia. And get articulation of the joints, cerebrospinal fluid. I start to come back into stillness. Notice if it feels any more comfortable being in your body. And then we're going to start massaging out the pec muscle. Using the opposite hand again, I'm going to go from my sternum and underneath my collarbone all the way over to the outside of the shoulder. So all of this region. And we're going to use that same technique of roll and then press. You can do whatever you want with your right arm. I tend to reach it out randomly to the right intuitively. So as you're rolling the ball around, you don't need to think about it as much, but be listening. So it's more of a feeling to where you're going to want to do your pressure. And find a place for the pressure. You can use both of your hands if you want. Deep breath in, expand, lift up into the ball so you get more pressure, but as you get more pressure, see if you can soften. All right, roll around again. Maybe the left ear drops over to the left shoulder a little bit. Maybe the chin moves. Okay, and then find your pressure. Nice. Roll it around again. And then release. Sit and notice. And we do the wave arms, really. If you were at a basketball stadium, you could send the wave all the way around if people were coordinating enough. So you can feel any subtle differences. And then switch sides. Let the meditation, there's a quality of meditation that can happen by letting your awareness be grounded on the sensations you're feeling. And the biggest sensation for this exercise is touch. And bring your ball into stillness, press. And release. Yeah. And then press. And then roll. Awesome. Then put your ball down for a moment. Do some movement, kind of explore how does the head of the arm bone feel in the shoulder socket? How does the front of the chest feel? And then take the hands to the knees and begin to do some Sufi Grinds. Feeling the sensations of the body, this body that you're in the deepest relationship with. Take your circles in the other direction. And then come back through center. Awesome. Now we're going to do the glutes. Let's start with the left side. Just so you can experiment with it and get the feeling of the left side before you do the right side. When you're doing your own practice, I would suggest working with that too, so you don't hop into the right side too quickly. It can be, I always try to do the side that's not injured first. So what we're gonna do a little bit differently, I think, than we've done before. We're gonna be on our hands and our feet, like a reverse table, but with our butt down. And we're gonna draw big circles with our ball under one bum. This is sometimes working with these props, the hardest thing is just working with them. Sometimes the more you do this, the less uncoordinated it will feel, the more coordinated it will feel. And then let the ball stop somewhere. And apply more or less tension with the way you release your body into gravity. And then begin to rotate again. See if you can find your sitting bone, your ischial tuberosity. That sitting bone is kind of towards the base of your bum, the top of your hamstring. And begin to circle around the ischial tuberosity. And find a place within the circle around your sitting bone to stop at. So there's your deep 6 hip rotator muscles, which the piriformis is one of, that all attach onto the sitting bone. So once you're sitting on the sitting bone, we're going to take the left leg and lower it down to the floor. So the left knee will come down to the floor, and then the left knee will work back up. Lower, lift on your own. Really nice. Once your knee comes back up through center, begin your circle around the ischial tuberosity again. It always amazes me how far forward on the pelvis the sitting bone is. So it shows how we don't sit like that. And then find another spot around the sitting bone to stay at. And then we'll add the left leg opening and closing. Really nice. And then do another circle, but begin to make your circles bigger so you're getting the whole glute. And let's find one spot on the upper ilium. So your ilium is your hip bone on the back side. So if you were to put your hand on your hip, your thumb on the back of your thumb will be on your ilium. So you want to go kind of right below that line, underneath like the line of your pants. I like to go back and forth like it's one line, and then find a spot in there to nestle down on. And then if it feels like it would help, you could do your knee movement again, up and down. I feel like this is where a lot of that uptightness is held, is in the pelvis. So our pelvis muscles, they talk about, especially the psoas, are the closest muscles to our core. So they're the ones that are connected with like our animal instincts the most, our reptilian brain, the flight or fight. So it just, over time, all of the pelvis muscles tend to get locked on. When some of them get locked on, other ones will turn off. Okay, really nice. One more time, circles, a little goodbye. And then come into a seated posture, Sukhasana. And we're going to notice the legs. Notice the way your knees fall out. Maybe switch your Sukhasana in a different direction. Normally we have a dominant one. And see if sitting on your left hip feels any different. And this always makes it feel more comfortable for me when it comes to sitting. It's nice to link these in our head, is to help us see the difference. And if we can understand the benefit, we'll start to be more motivated to practice. And motivation to practice is always great. Now we're going to take the ball underneath the right bum and begin to circle out. First, just investigating, taking more weight off of the hip if you need to by pushing into the hands more. If your circles changed from being circles into just movement, that's fine as well. And we're going to take our first spot on the piriformis. So finding the sitting bone, it's kind of like a little dimple-ish there. Find the weight go down. Definitely feel on this side more. Sometimes we're so out of touch with our body because we don't even reside in our body, because it's not a comfortable place to be. So we start kind of like hovering up with our mind and our brain, and we don't get the cues from our body as much. So if you can't tell which side feels tighter, one thing that doesn't lie tends to be the breath. So if you ever get to a spot and you notice you like gasp or you stop breathing, that's always a good indicator, like, oh, there's something in my body here. Great, circle it around again. This time seeing if you can find your sitting bone towards the base of your bottom and circle the ball around the sitting bone. All the muscles and the hamstring muscles, your 3 hamstring muscles, attach via a tendon to the sitting bone. Your adductors, your inner thigh muscles attach to your sitting bone. Some of them do, I think. Your glutes attached to your sitting bones. There's a lot of stuff here. And then let your weight drop down again. And let's add the knee. Forgot to do that last time. My hands are getting a little sore, so I'm going to come down onto my forearms. If your hands get sore, you can drop lower. It does change the sensation of the ball. Okay, circle around. Find another spot. Ooh. Felt that. Bring your awareness to your breath. See if you can soften as you inhale and exhale. Okay, move it around. Say goodbye to that part of your glute. We'll begin to work our way up to just underneath the ilium and that pant line. You could go closer to your sacrum or further out to the hip. Closer to the sacrum is going to do some SI stuff, and further out to the hip is going to touch into some glute stuff. Letting your weight settle, maybe moving your right leg. All right, some goodbye stretches or rolls. And then come into your Sukhasana again. Oh, yeah, take your time, no rush. Sometimes therapists who work with fascia will say it's better than talk therapy, because in talk therapy, you just stay in your head talking about it. But when you can access the body, you can start to release some of this held tension that doesn't go away when we talk about it. Although I am personally a lover of both therapies. Okay, really nice. We're gonna take our ball now and do our hand. We're gonna take the ball. I like to do it on the floor, but I'm gonna push it between each finger. So I'll often push this like this is the floor, and I'll kind of like each finger kind of just like push down. I'm trying to widen them, but normally one will kind of drop in. Nice. And then if this is still the floor, I can take my hand too and put my finger on it and then push my palm down until I'm getting some stretch in the extenders. This is really nice, especially for people who type a lot, because their hands tend to be in. So this is a good way of spreading out. Before we go to the other side, we're going to do table, and our hands are just going to roll on it. So now in table, similar to the foot, I'm just going to roll around. See if you can notice different texture of tissue underneath the hands. We don't tend to stretch or massage out the hands very frequently. So for me, I normally feel like some knotty textures in my hands. It's really good for avoiding some wrist issues. And from here, we're going to do that the finger flexion again. It'll be a little bit different because we're weight bearing. So taking the one finger on the ball and pushing the full palm down. So you're getting the extension through the fingers, the phalanges. Apologize for my sniffles. You'd think the rain would help my allergies, but it has not. Okay, and then sit back. We'll do it on the other side. First, starting to push the ball between the fingers. I'm working the extension. And then coming into table and rolling it out. Okay, now we're going to work our way onto our forearms. We've moved you off of the cool stand. Figured you should be up close and personal with me. Okay, so I'm just on my knees in like a table. And we're first going to do the underside of our forearms. I'm just going to roll it forward and back. Noticing if the bottom of your forearm, if it feels more tender on the outside towards the pinky finger edge of your forearm, or if it feels more tender on the inner edge by your thumb. And now we're going to flip the forearm over. This is great because there's so much fascia here that gets tight, because again, we're not like working with the forearms, and then tight forearm fascia can lead to like a bunch of wrist stuff. So now we're going to turn the palm over, and we're going to use our palms up, and we're going to use our other hand to guide us. Let me show you the muscle we're going to be trying to access. So here's my elbow. So on this lateral side, so away from my midline, there's a muscle that runs all the way up here towards the pinky finger. I forget, one of the epicondyles is for tennis and one is for golf, but they're really easy to get too much tension on either of these and so many issues. So I'm going to use my other hand to help me kind of guide my way. And it's hard because the muscle just pops me right off the ball and it doesn't feel coordinated. But that's okay. You just don't always need to look pretty and coordinated. Messy is just fine. Isn't that interesting? There's a lot of juicy stuff you can do over here. You can just push in straight at that one spot outside of the elbow. Okay, really nice. I'm going to shake that arm out. We'll do it on the other side. We'll start with the palm down. When the palm's down, you don't need the help of the other arm, but you could give it to it if you wanted. And checking out the inner side of that forearm and the outer side. This stuff can also be really nice to do on like a table. So you don't have to be on your knees, bent over. You can just do this like sitting down at your kitchen table. Okay, and then we'll flip over, find that lateral upper epicondyle of the elbow. Use the other hand and guide it forward and back. If you find some places you want to be still and hold sustained pressure, that's always fine too. You might notice if there's any layers or tendencies in you to like want to do a harder practice, Or you might notice that that tendency isn't there as much. And it's just something to be aware of. I used to not enjoy these slow practices, but now I'm liking it. It's just, all of it's just interesting to be aware of. It's not till, none of it should be expected to last forever or to never change, but just to noticing the journey and how it ebbs and flows. Okay, really nice. Roll your wrist around. Well, we didn't do an experiment before, but it's nice to roll the wrist around before because you can feel how the tendons like clunk over your wrist bones. And then if you roll it around after, oftentimes there's a little bit less of that, more glide. Next thing we're gonna do with the ball, this is going to be similar to, we've done this with the blanket before, where we put the blanket roll in the knees and we just slowly work it back. We're going to do it one leg at a time with the ball. So I'll kind of show you really quick. So I'm going to put it all the way in and I'm going to sit back as much as feels comfortable. And I like to tuck my other toes under as a way to take weight off of the back of the knee because it's real intense. And we'll just slowly work that ball on the right knee all the way down to the heel. So we're starting with it way up at the knee joint. We're trying to find that middle ground. We're not trying to push so hard that we do damage. And we're not trying to push so light that we don't feel it. And you're figuring out ways you can get a little bit lighter. You can shift forward more to your forearms, or like I said, I tuck under my left toes. If it feels like you might want a little bit of movement while you're here, you can take your bum in a kind of crescent moon shape, rocking it from one side to the other. This could be, for me in this spot, it's super small. But it can be nice to break up sustained pressure with a little bit of movement. All right, see if you can bring just a little bit more weight back. One of the ways you know you've put too much weight on the ball is other parts of the body will start tensing up. We don't want to tense up other areas while trying to relax another area. Okay, let's move the ball back one spot. You can hold it more still, or you can do your little butt wiggle from side to side. If it feels like your ball might be slipping out and isn't in a very good position, you can always take your hand and replace it. There's so many fibers in the gastrocnemius, the calf muscles. So if your area doesn't feel like it's sensational, there's probably another area on that same line, that same level of the calf muscle if you work the ball medial or lateral. Let's take the ball a little bit further back. I had to change the way you're sitting to put more weight on the ball. And then one more, this time the ball should be almost all the way to the hill or on your last spot for this side. I think there's a lot more sensitivity towards the top, so I tend to spend more time there and hit the bottom a little bit more quickly. When I do this by myself, sometimes I'll do this same line multiple times. I'll go up and down, but for time's sake, let's do a down dog to notice the difference. Bike your down dog out to notice how your
legs are feeling, your ankles are feeling. The more I do practices like this, the more I realize how much healing happens just when we're present with like a child or a person or a body part. Okay, come back down. We're gonna do the other side. So the ball comes in the knee crease of the left knee. Try to keep it all the way in there as you sit back. This is getting a muscle called the popliteus that activates and its job is to keep our leg from hyperextending, or it tries to, and it helps our knee do this little turn every time the knee closes and opens. It tends to be very neglected and sore. Bring more awareness to your breath. Let this be a practice of staying with the sensations. If it ever becomes painful, and painful is when there's a sensation that immediately causes you like a motor reflex to exit. We're not trying to create that. We're just trying to create high sensation. Pushing into these different parts of our body, but they're all connected. As we release here, we release all the way up to our head, all the way down to our feet in the plantar fascia. Okay, move the ball back a little bit. Move the ball back a little bit. I was talking to someone yesterday and I was telling them about how I feel like I feel like I've always been pretty awkward when it comes to interactions, but I feel like with COVID, I'm like way more awkward. I'm like, really? I wouldn't think that. And it's like, oh yes, I feel very awkward inside. Whatever you perceive from the outside, like that's not my inner experience. But when I do some of this ball work, I can feel this like inner discomfort that makes me feel like a little squirmy. And I can recognize that that's like the same inner squirminess I have when I'm with like people that I feel awkward around, like at like a potluck and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. It's the same feeling. And so it's like, oh, interesting. Work it down a little bit more. Kind of lost track, so I'm finishing up this leg. This is also a really big opening for the front of the foot because the foot's in like a full point. And that part at the front of the ankle, when the foot's fully pointed, well, regardless of the position of the foot, at the front of the ankle, there's like a little divot. And that's the main lymph pickup for the feet. So as all of the stuff settles, the lymph system's like it's like the laundry room of the house. It like cleans everything. So it's in the foot. So it's opening up this spot so more lymph can be picked up and recycled, which is wonderful. Okay, downward facing dog. Ooh. Okay, and we're gonna do this floss I've discovered. We're gonna do it the left leg forward first so we can see how we feel about it. And we're test it out. So I'm gonna rotate this way. We're gonna take our left foot forward and across about halfway. So I'm on the pinky edge of my left foot and my engagement's gonna be squeezing the legs together. And then my movement's gonna be little pulses forward and back. And I think you're gonna get the stretch across that IT band area that you point out. You can experiment with where the left foot is. It can be closer up to your right hand or further back. This is quite similar to when we're laying on our back and we're doing our supta. So on our back, A, B, and C. And we bring the leg, but we bring it into the twist only halfway over, and it stretches the glute and the IT band. It's the same idea, but we're weight bearing and engaged when we do it in down dog. Really nice. And then in your down dog, pull your left knee towards your chest. You might need to remove your right foot. Think about engaging your left psoas, so squeezing your left thigh to your belly, engaging this deep hip muscle that attaches from your inner thigh to the back of your ribs. Now with it engaged, open up your left hip and then push the ball of your left foot all the way over towards the right wall. And see if you can get a stretch in that psoas area. And then pull the knee back into the chest. And then one more time, stretch it out. Maybe lean your hips a little bit to the left. Forget about the rules and see how you can maybe move to get a little bit more sensation. Belly and could come into the spine to protect your low back. And then step your left foot all the way forward. And then step your right foot forward, Uttanasana. Little bend in your knees. Take that, your half moons in your pelvis, swishing your butt over to the right and then over to the left. And then come into stillness. Put a bend in your right knee. Right hand comes down to the floor in front of the right foot. Push strongly through your left heel, twist your chest to the left, and reach your left hand up to the sky. You can look down to the floor, forward in the direction of your chest, or up towards your left thumb. Unwind, Uttanasana. From our Uttanasana, roll all the way up slowly, one vertebrae at a time. Roll. When you get all the way, as you roll up, let the arms come up too, however they do. And then as you exhale, let your knees bend, your belly come down to your thighs, like you're kind of just like crumpling down. And then slowly roll all the way up. Arms come up, and then like a slow motion, fall and crumple. Really nice. Step back, downward facing dog. And we're going to do it on the right side now. So take your right foot across the body. So you're on the knife edge of your pinky edge foot in this like falling star position, I think people will call it. The legs squeeze together to create engagement in the outer hip, and then rock forward and back a little bit. We're trying to target the hip. So figure out if there's like a little different way you can move and see if you can bring this little stretching movement more towards the area without being too focused on it, just that general area. Really nice. Okay, now bring the right knee into the chest. For this first time, since your outer right hip's kind of bugging you, let's not squeeze in too much. Let's just do one just with the knee to the chest and then open the hip to the side for the open leg, three-legged downward dog. And then pull the knee, depending on how this is feeling, we'll pull the knee in again. Decide if you want to add the extra muscle by squeezing the knee more firmly into the chest. And then keeping a little bit engagement, opening up. Or you could do that without the engagement. When I was doing this the other day, I felt my psoas, and it's rare that you feel it. Okay, step your right foot forward. Left foot steps forward, Uttanasana, hang. Knees can have a little bend in them. We're going to take the stretch more on the outer right hip. So put a bend in your left knee. Left hand comes down on the floor. Push through the right heel, right arm up. As you exhale, unwind. Then roll up. We're going to do 3 of these rolls. Arms will come up. And then exhale, fold in. 2 more times on your own. I take multiple breaths coming up. And then when I release, or I try to match it with an exhale. Really nice. And then next time you come to your Uttanasana, widen your feet, bend your knees, Malasana Squat. Trade off one heel at a time. Glad to say I'm not the only one with a sniffy nose. At least you're muted. Every once in a while, I'll mute you when you're not looking and blow my nose. That's how. Nice. Now we're going to go into that quad stretch. We're going to take the feet together on the balls of the feet, walk the hands behind us a little bit, and then stretch one knee forward and then the other. This is nice because it's opening up the quad, the psoas, and it's also giving us the same range of movement on our toes that we were doing with our fingers in the ball. Great. Come to your bum, find your ball again. We're gonna roll out the feet. I'm gonna do my right foot first. I'm gonna start with my arch, especially the inner arch. It's not really a wrong way to do this. Just follow your feelings. I won't cue this as much, but as you roll around, you can apply your pressure. And go up more up and down the ball of the foot. The plantar fascia, fun fact, attaches at the front of the calcaneus and goes over the toes. Wait, maybe it starts there. Yeah, L3, then goes back, but it's only part of the foot. That's what it is. Back of the leg, all the way up to the back of the brain. Fascinating. And I'll begin to take the ball to the inner edge of the heel, so the medial side of the heel underneath your little inner bony bump. I love massaging this part of the body. And reflexology, this is the area of the uterus. And bring the sole of the foot on the floor, knee up. The lymph system, which is in the fascia, doesn't have a pump. So the way it gets moved is with massage or like cardiovascular exercises or movement, like having the feet up. So this is really a great way of activating that, clearing the path for the lymph to be able to make it up the foot. Really nice. Okay. I like to, when I do the foot, I like to hit the calf again. So you can step the foot forward when you feel done and then go up and down the calf. Just being with the body. And then when you feel ready, We'll switch to the other side, starting with the inner arch, but on your own. No rush. And one of the worst things we do for our feet, in some people's opinion, is wear shoes. Oftentimes people who study the feet call shoes, what do they call them? Like feet coffins or something like that, like where they go to die, because they lose all of their responsiveness to the earth, because we used to walk on such like unstable ground and everything. So this is a really nice way of bringing that instability back to the foot, so the foot moves in a lot of really weird ways that it doesn't when you're wearing shoes and walking on sidewalk. Okay, let's get the uterus here, the inner edge of the heel. And then the top of the foot. And move the foot forward and get your calf. Who needs to go to a massage therapist when you can just use a ball, roll out your whole body? Okay. When you feel ready, put your balls away. Your ball. Hold on, let me use one. We're going to end when you're ready. We'll end with a few face points that we're going to do with our fingers. Let me see if I can move you up right. So the first one we're going to do is our jaw. So I like to take my middle fingers for this one. You're going to find the hinge in your jaw. And you're going to go in and do little circles. The jaw slightly relaxed. You can open it if you want. I'm actually going to lift up my knees and put my elbows on it so I can release my head into the weight of my fingers. Yeah. Look at this really quick. So oftentimes when people go to do this, they'll put their finger flat against their face, but then there's so much surface area, you don't get that intense pressure. So you want it to be like a little needle going in there. And just like the fascia, you have these fascial lines that connect throughout the whole body. You also have these meridians, these rivers that are connected to the organs, and they tend to have the qualities of the organs. So this is the stomach meridian. And the stomach can be like how you're digesting life, or more simply, like the real role of the stomach, like if it's able to work healthfully. Just applying the pressure helps to make that stomach river more optimal. I'll do some like goodbye circles. And the next one we're going to do, I like to use my index, but these are all just suggestions. It's a point between the nostril and like the lip, right here. What is that? Like over my canine tooth, but up high, there's like a little divot. And the same thing, go in with your fingers so the whole finger isn't resting against your face. Figure out how you can release your head forward into your hands. This is the gallbladder. This is a gallbladder point, gallbladder 27. I love these points because it's like if you just touched random points of your bodies, there's not that sensitive, but these points, it's amazing how they're sensitive. It's like, ooh, hello. Notice the breath. See if you can make it a little bit deeper and fuller, a little slower. This is going to be our equivalent for Shavasana today, these face points. And release. Okay, next one, I like to use my thumbs. And it's this, there's these little divots right about where the start of the eyebrow is. These points can be really tight because they're also right around the muscles that we tend to activate, like our 11 muscles between the eyebrows. And then we're learning to communicate with the body. And these little pushes are like ways to help override the system and help rebalance, reharmonize. Really nice. And release. Now, last one, we're going to take the fingers. I like to use the middle finger to the third eye. I use 2 of them. Lean your head into your fingers and draw a little circle. The circle goes other direction. And then settle into pressure at the third eye space. Okay, sit up for your seated meditation for a moment. Let your awareness move from the top of your head to your feet slowly. And as your awareness travels down your body, just be with that part of your body and allow your presence to release any tension that's willing to go. Just friendly presence with yourself. Either keeping your hands where they are, bringing your hands in front of your heart. Let's take a little pause and set an intention for today around your body. What's an intention that you could set around your interactions with your body today or this week? What I love about intentions is it's just something we're trying to remember, not through like force or anger, So I'd like to be a little bit nicer, whatever it may be. Bow your head to yourself, your heart. Thank yourself for showing up and being with your body this morning. Thanks for sharing your practice with me. Such a pleasure. Namaste. Awesome.